Okay. Um, we've been looking at a lot of if-else clauses. So this is a good time to introduce another way of writing an if-else expression in Python. So, uh, and that's called the ternary if-else clause. Now, if-else statements are that they are statements. Uh, there is a way to write an if-else statement as an expression. That means it returns a value. So if you think about it, normal if-else clauses, the way we've been looking at them, they're logic switches that control flow of execution. There is a shorthand way of writing if-else uh, statements in the event that what your if-else condition needs to do is switch between different values. So remember, the difference between a statement and an expression is that an expression must always evaluate to a value. And so when we write an if-else statement as an expression, it means the result of running it will always return a value. And we write if-else statements as expressions using this ternary if-else construct. And it's called ternary because it has three parts. It has a leading expression, followed by the keyword if, a condition that if is evaluating, followed by else, followed by a trailing expression. And what this means is return the result of this first expression if this condition is true, otherwise return the result of this expression. So here's an example. Let's look at this in VS Code. All right. So let's say we have my int, and we've previously defined my int up here in integers. So I'm gonna put a breakpoint in here. Trace, and let's do it in terminal. All right, module 2. Okay, we're right here now. So remember, my boolean we had defined it is currently true, and my int we defined in part 2, and it is currently 3. Okay, so if true, we're going to add 1 to my int and assign it back. So we should see that this evaluated to true. So when we step forward, we are in this segment of the code, and we're going to add 1 to my int. The else part doesn't evaluate because we didn't get into it. And so now if we look at my int, it's 4. If we were to change this expression and write it as a ternary, we could simply do it like this. So we're saying add 1 to my int if this boolean is true, otherwise subtract 1 from it. So if we step through that, we've just executed line 34, so my int should be 5 now because we added 1 to 4. There is sometimes it can be a little confusing to see that this is an expression in code, so I would suggest adding parentheses around it. It can just be a visual cue that, this evaluates to a number. So let's step through line 39. My int should now be 6 because we've done this again. Now, in Python, white space matters. Different scopes have to be indented like this. But when we have parentheses, we can add new lines in arbitrary spaces, and it should be fine. So sometimes you might want to add parentheses just to be able to, like if this expression was very complicated, this condition is itself an expression that evaluates to a boolean, and that can be arbitrarily complex. You could have nested ternary expressions. So sometimes that gets really complicated to have on just one line. You can use parentheses to kind of break that out and sort of space it out so you can see it better. So let's go ahead and step through this. So we've executed these lines, and we're now on line 59, so my end should now be 7. And down here, I'm just reiterating that ternary expressions are expressions. That means they return a value. They can be arbitrarily complex. And we're setting my int back to 3 here, and I'm just doing it in this like sort of weird, fancy way. But convince yourself that logically this is equivalent to this. Let's go ahead and see that.